Hello everybody, welcome to the Red Devil Experience. How you all doing? We are here today with a lot of breaking Manchester United news on Erik Ten Hag and his job security. A lot of stuff has come out since yesterday's match against Tottenham, so we need to see how that is going to go. Sorry about that, just checking the audio. So yeah, we have a lot of updates on Erik Ten Hag. We're gonna get straight into it. Please smash the like button for me if you can. Greatly appreciated. And subscribe if you're not a subscriber already. Join our wonderful community. Get involved. Get in the chat. Everybody is welcome. Everybody has an opinion on this channel and is always welcome to join in the discussion. So we're gonna start the match. We're gonna start the show off. Sorry about that. We're gonna start the show off with the latest news that basically came everything out of yesterday. So yesterday, obviously, you know, we lost to Tottenham 3-0. Not even lost. We got embarrassed. We got obliterated. It was a bad day for everybody involved in Manchester United, and I just want to start off with the show by saying that, you know, I didn't enjoy putting this together today, this show, which I usually do. I usually am excited to do this show and put it together. But I take no joy in putting this show together today because I think it's just sad. And I feel very, very sad about the circumstances that the club is in and Erik Ten Hag is in, and you know, the fallout that's going to come out of this. So, you know, really, you know, it's just bad. It's just sad. So, let's get straight into the news though. The news started off with this coming from Man United Men, saying Erik Ten Hag arrived at Carrington this morning at 7:30, and he is set to remain in charge for the Europa League trip to Porto on Thursday and the next Premier League fixture at Aston Villa on Sunday. Those fixtures could be crucial in deciding Ten Hag's fate. We had follow-ups to that saying some around Erik Ten Hag think that enough work has been done around the Dutchman to warrant a longer stay at Manchester United. So that is probably one of the only, you know, if you're Ten Hag in or you want Ten Hag to stay, that's probably one of the only encouraging and positive things to come out, because everything else is pretty much a downer. Grace is in here. Our wonderful moderator, she's asking me, Erik, what would you do if you was Ineos? I'll get to that in a second, Grace. Let me get through a couple of the news pieces and then I'll get involved in the chat. But very good question. So that came with a follow-up from Simon Stone saying, while the pressure on Erik Ten Hag is clearly mounting, Manchester United's hierarchy will always consider such situations carefully rather than making a decision immediately after a bad result. There was a quote from Mike Brown, who was a former Manchester United assistant manager and chief scout, saying that from what he hears, so I guess contacts that he still has, you know, at Manchester United, he's saying that from what he hears, he doesn't have long talking about Ten Hag the way things are going. And I think that's obvious to get, you know, to say. I think the writing, unfortunately, for Erik Ten Hag is on the wall. I don't think that he will survive this period. I don't think he will survive. I don't think he will get through this. I think the next two matches we will lose. That seems to be the sentiment coming out of the club, that, you know, these next two matches will determine, you know, if he is going to continue on or not. And I think, you know, there's a lot of people out there, and I did, you know, usually I don't do this since I started doing this. I usually stop listening to other channels and a lot of other fans, not because I don't want to hear their opinion, but because I don't want their opinion to influence my opinion when I do this show and have it like a repeat. But I just really wanted to gauge the sentiment from all different types of people, whether they're whether they were Ten Hag inners and now they're Ten Hag outers. They're still Ten Hag inners. They were Ten Hag outers for a long time. Big channels, people with smaller voices, and a lot of the things that I was hearing, it was almost like a unison of coming from the fan base. I mean, there was a lot of different people from a lot of different parts of the UK, the world, and they were all saying kind of the same thing, is that he's pretty much done. No one in this fan base right now can really see a way forward for him, or that he's going to make it out of this current situation. And I feel that way as well. I think the writing is on the wall for him, especially with these updates talking about how these next two matches is going to be make or break for him, because I just don't see where the reaction from the players is going to come for him. I don't think he has the backing of them. Not that he doesn't have the backing, I just don't think he has the belief from them anymore. I think there is a disconnect between Erik Ten Hag and the players now. I think he's lost a lot of trust. I don't think he's lost all the trust, but I think he's lost a lot of trust from them in him. And I just don't see, and the results on the pitch and the performances on the pitch, I just don't see how he's going to pull off two very positive results in these next two tough matches. These are not easy matches. We're not playing bottom of the league teams. We're playing tough games. Porto is an extremely tough game. It's a rough atmosphere. It's a tough atmosphere. Our confidence is on the floor. The players, we're playing at home against Tottenham in what's considered to be a big match, and they can't show up on that day. And how can I expect them to show up away from home at Porto with the atmosphere that they do? Because they are very, they are just very supportive fans. They are, they have a good atmosphere. They back their team. They're aggressive in ways, and it's going to be a difficult place to play. And with the way we are, I just don't see how we're going to get into that period and play good. And then Aston Villa just performing way better than us. They're in such a good place, and we are not. So I just don't see how he's going to get into that. I don't see how he's going to get past that. And Grace asked me before, and she said, Erik, what would you do if you was Ineos? And Lyons is in here, so good to see you guys. And Richard is in here, so good to see you guys. I'm glad you guys are here. Please let me know, because I tried something new with the mic. So just let me know if it sounds good. If it sounds weird or funny, let me know. Lyle's also in here, so I'm glad everybody's coming in here. Good to see you all. So back to Grace's question, though. She asked me what I would do if I was Ineos, and I've kind of been thinking this over a little bit, and I'm trying, there's no real clear-cut answer, in my opinion, because there's a couple things you could do, but I'm trying to view the situation in what would be best for the club at this current moment. What can we do to improve things, to improve the situation? And for me, it really boils down to the fact that if Erik Ten Hag has lost these players, and while we don't like player power, and we don't want player power to creep in, back in, and we don't want player power to dictate what goes on at the club, the way I'm viewing it right now, and maybe one of you guys will say something different and it'll give me a different viewpoint to think from, but I just keep thinking about how there's nothing we can really do about if there's certain players in the squad that are the problem. There's nothing you can do about them right now. We can't, we're not gonna cut their contract. It's just bad finances, and Ineos won't do that. You can't move them on because the window is closed. And if the players are not buying in to Erik Ten Hag anymore, then unfortunately, Erik Ten Hag is going to have to get sacked, because that's the only way that we might be able to rebound this season. It's still early, and if you make the correct managerial change and you get a manager bounce from now until the end of the season, then you can deal with the problem players in the transfer window. So for me right now, Ineos, this is their real test. They're getting a first-hand experience. You know, a lot of the people that came in that are in positions like Barada and Jason Wilcox, etc., they came in sort of late to the end of the season. And I think they're seeing firsthand, you know, real-time reactions from the players, how they're behaving, how they're handling it, what they're doing on the pitch. So, you know, I think, unfortunately, the only thing that I see that really turns the situation around at the club would be a new manager with a new manager bounce. Because I think Erik Ten Hag won't be able to pull himself out of this, unfortunately. So, yeah, for me, and I don't want him to be. I'm not Ten Hag out. I'm not, saying that he needs to be sacked tonight. I just think that he is going to inevitably get the sack. And I think that that's probably the only real way for the club to pull themselves out of this situation. Now it depends, who would be a replacement for Erik Ten Hag. And, that's up to Ineos. There's a couple candidates, which were actually, there's a couple names that have been linked with Manchester United, and we're going to get into that as well. But, yeah, I mean, I can't say for sure because I'm not on the inside of the club, so I don't know exactly what the players are feeling. I don't know what the players' relationship exactly with Erik Ten Hag is, and the dynamics that's going on in that aspect. That's Ineos. They know that. They're the ones that can dictate that the best. So I can't say for 100% sure, but from the outside looking in, what we saw yesterday and what we've seen so far this season, there is something fundamentally wrong between the players and Erik Ten Hag. There is a big miscommunication and lack of understanding between what he wants and what he's trying to implement and what the players are giving us on the pitch. There is a problem because it's just not being done. And yesterday was an absolute disaster. For everybody at Manchester United. So, you can't continue down this path. If the players have no trust in him, they've given up on him, or they're done with him. Unfortunately, as much as we hate player power, the only thing that we can really do is to change the manager at this point and then move forward from there. Because if it's turning toxic, it's only going to get worse. It's only going to get worse. And then, we will secede everything. We will secede top four, which seems increasingly impossible as the matches go on. We will be out of Europa League. We won't even get into the next, round of the Europa League if we keep going the current way. And that is, if we don't get a result at Porto. Now, the other aspect of this is the players haven't given up on the manager. They still want him there. And we go to Porto, they fight, they put in a performance that we haven't seen yet this season. They get a positive win and a result, and we go to Villa and they do it again. That is still a possibility. And if that happens, a lot of people that want him out are going to be unhappy because I think that means that, he will continue on. But it is a possibility, and then the dynamic might change, and the talk might change. I expect it to change because right now it just seems like everybody believes like no matter what Erik Ten Hag does, he's lost the players. And if you lose the players, your job is done pretty much. We've seen it before. We've been in this situation before, and we all know how it ends. So, yeah. Grace is saying there's only 3 players that are in the main squad that aren't young players or Erik Ten Hag signing. Bruno, Rashford, Delo. Would you sell Bruno and Rashford? Would we be better as a team? Well, it's another very good question, Grace. And that is a hot topic. It is a hot discussion right now because there's a lot of people that believe that Bruno Fernandes is a huge problem for Manchester United. They believe that as long as he is at the club, we will not succeed. We cannot play good football. The same thing for Rashford, and Delo has been good, so there's not too much hate going on Delo, even though yesterday was probably his worst performance in a Manchester United shirt. And I don't know. I like both those players, but they currently are. Rashford has been a problem for quite some time because of his performances, and Bruno has been a problem more recently of late because he's not doing. Before we were willing to let him do all of these, so he would do bad passes, crazy passes, or play not so good because he was still giving us, assists or goals. But right now, his problems are on top of what he's giving us in terms of positivity. So, for me, I don't know the exact dynamic of both those players. Again, that's for people that are inside the club. They know how they are behind the scenes. We only see what we can on camera and when, they're in front of the television or in front of people inside of the stadium. We don't know how they act necessarily behind the scenes. So I would say my answer to that would be, if they are problems, you have to sell them. You have to get them out. You do. And, if it is identified through the club, through analysis, statistics, whatever it is, that, there is a better number 10 out there that can play the way that the team needs to play or wants to play, that can do it. I mean, not 10, an 8 better than Bruno, then you have to do what is necessary and you have to move him on and you have to bring in the correct player. They are problems currently because they haven't been playing well and they keep getting picked, but that also goes on Erik Ten Hag because he can drop them. He can if he really wants to. If he really, really wants to. He made Bruno the captain and he's sticking with his philosophy that Bruno is his captain, so Bruno has to play every match. And he also refuses to substitute Bruno Fernandes. So that goes on Erik Ten Hag. As much as people might think that they are problems, Erik Ten Hag can still take them out of the team, and use them as subs or something. They don't have to be starting matches, but Erik Ten Hag is the one that continues to pick them, just like previous managers continue to pick them, and previous managers continue to pick certain other players that probably shouldn't have continued to be picked. So I think, for me personally, I'm at the point, because I still feel very hurt from yesterday, and I'm just at the point where I still feel very defeated, and I'm just at the point of I don't care what happens at this club in a certain aspect anymore. I just want what is best for the club. So if Rashford and Bruno need to be sold, as much as I like them, and I think that when they were in form, they're important and they're good players. If they need to be sold, then so be it. And get them out. If Erik Ten Hag needs to get sacked, then so be it. Erik Ten Hag needs to get sacked because I'm tired. I'm tired and I'm drained from this, and I just want something needs to be changed. It does. And Lyle's saying, I don't see Erik Ten Hag finishing the year as United manager because the next 2 games are crucial, but it's too short a time for a turnaround, and time to turn it around has lapsed, in my opinion. And I agree with that, Lyle. I think the moment was yesterday. I think the moment was yesterday, Lyle. I think that was his moment. I think that was the team's moment, and we failed miserably, and the players let themselves down, they let the club down, they let us down, they let the manager down. Erik Ten Hag the same, he let us down, he let himself down as well. And I just think that he is in the impossible situation right now. I just think that he won't get out of this. So that's just how it seems. They could all surprise us and do something that nobody is expecting, which is for them to go out there, fight for the manager, and pull out two positive and really good results. But if you're a betting person, you wouldn't bet on that, because it's throwing your money away. Lions saying, I want the team to pull their socks up so we don't need to start all over again and restart the transition whiz again. And I get that, Lyle, but at the same time, I'm kind of, and I was there with you the whole time, but now I just really, with the situation, and I don't know what's best. I'm just trying to think things through, and I don't really have a concrete answer. But maybe, and I said this, maybe a couple shows ago, and maybe I said it yesterday, maybe we do need to change the manager, because the way I still see it is that we have a new hierarchy. We have a new way of supposedly operating. We're scouting players differently. We're bringing different types of profile of players in, younger, and, all that stuff. And Erik Ten Hag was appointed by Richard Arnold and John Murtaugh and co. And maybe he just wasn't the right pick. Not necessarily that he isn't a good coach, a good manager, but maybe he just wasn't the right pick for Manchester United. And unfortunately, and I thought he was, and I was really excited by him, but maybe he just wasn't. Maybe that is the stone cold fact, that he just wasn't the correct pick for our club and for what we needed and for that job. And maybe the way forward is to go get a new manager, and so everybody is on the same page at the club. We have a new hierarchy, a new manager. The new manager will be afforded time for the very least, and maybe if we have that starting point under this hierarchy, we can actually do a proper rebuild and a restart on the transition. Because the problem was, when we done this in the past, and I think fans are getting mixed up in this, and I understand why, because we've been here too many times, but the problem was that we didn't have the correct people. Now, Ineos might not get it right. It might go wrong as well. But at the same time, they are not those terribly incompetent people that made all the previous poor decisions that we made. In my opinion, and I think Ineos started well in terms of their period of being in charge so far, but it remains to be seen what that's going to yield. But the previous regime never had a proper plan. They never executed it properly. They never followed it through. Never. And this, and you can argue, Ineos chose to stick with him, and they did. And maybe it was a mistake at that time. Maybe we were wrong. Maybe we were wrong to ask for Ten Hag to stay. Maybe he didn't need to be changed. And maybe the way forward is to change the manager. So, Richard's saying they cannot play the system he's coaching, and he refuses to change because he is stubborn. And I think that's a good point by Richard, and that's kind of the impasse that we're at. Like, clearly what he's been trying to implement, it hasn't progressed well at all, and there's numerous reasons for that. Last season we had an injury crisis. It disrupted a lot of things, but at the same time, there's a real lack of improvement. When you look at other managers that come into jobs, I mean, you look at Unai Emery and what he's done at Villa. You look at what Maresca is doing at Chelsea. You look at what Postecoglou has done at Tottenham. In terms of their style of play and their philosophy and how they've been able to implement it into the players very quickly. It's a bad spot to be in, because he refuses to try and adapt it in a certain way, and they clearly cannot do it. They cannot do it, whether because they're just, not good enough or whatever it is, but they can't. They haven't been able to, and I don't think they're going to. I mean, if you can make any player fit any system and play any type of way, then Pep Guardiola could make a championship team win the Premier League with those players. Pep Guardiola wouldn't have gone to City and replaced 6 right backs and numerous amounts of players in certain positions. He would have just done it. He would have just got them to do what he wanted, and he would have succeeded without spending any money. So you can't just force players, no matter how much you try and train them or how much you teach them. Some players just they are not good enough for the system, or they just don't fit the system that you are trying to implement. And like Grace pointed out, a lot of his players, a lot of the players at the club right now and who were on the pitch yesterday are his players. So he bring them in and they still aren't performing well in his system, which is very problematic when you are a manager, because that falls back on you at the end of the day. The players, they get their blame too, because even if the system fails, there's certain things that you can't see on the pitch, like we seen yesterday and in previous games and previous matches that we've seen this season, last season, and even the first season of Ten Hag and before Erik Ten Hag, with some of the players that are still there. But yeah, it is a huge problem. We have more updates and I'm going to get into it, but let me go through the chat a little bit and then we'll get back to that. Axe was in here, but he couldn't say, but he couldn't stay. But he had this to say. He said, "I can't do this anymore. Man United have been humiliated by both Liverpool and Tottenham at home. They can't beat average teams such as Twente and Brighton." I mean, yeah, it's we're in a really tough spot. We're in a really negative place right now. It's really bad. And Axe also said, "We are shameful. I can't do this anymore. I need to take a break from Man United. Hopefully, I may watch the match against Porto, but." Hell, I can't do this anymore. I have to go. And I understand, Axo. It's okay if you gotta go, buddy. You have a good night. I hope you feel better. And I hope we get to a place where things improve and, we could be more positive, because it is sad. It is sad. I was putting this show together, and this is the first time I ever put a show together. Well, while I was putting the show together, I felt sick. I felt sad putting the show together, because it's honestly, it's a very negative show. And I don't like to do this type of content, but it is the reality that we are sitting in right now. And that's where I like to operate, in the reality of where we are. And unfortunately, the reality where we are right now is it's shit, and it sucks, and it's negative. So I understand that, so it is tough. Rich is saying, "I don't even think it's about losing the players. Why does he not play a system that suits the players you have?" Well, I mean, it's a good question. I think we answered that already, Richard. I think you answered your own question, because he's very stubborn. I think he has a certain way, and I think we've seen it from him in the previous time. It's his way or the highway. And he refuses to budge from that. So, but then again, that's why I can't 100% feel sorry for Ten Hag, because he has options to change it, but he refuses it. So he is also bringing it on himself, while it's not 100% his fault. And it is a blame that has to be spread around, because at the end of the day, this is a club, this is a team sport. It doesn't just go on one person, one player. It is a team operation. There is multiple different people that deserve blame. It can't just go on one person. But yeah, I just think that I just think the answer is plain and simple, Richard. I think it's because he's stubborn. I think it's because it's his way or the highway. I mean, he plays his system. If you can't play the system, then we fail. That's what it is, and he refuses to change that. Now, I don't understand to the point, I would say, Richard, I don't understand to the point of why, if he refuses to, change his system, why can't he drop out players that are clearly, obviously either cannot play the system or are not playing the system good. Why can't he take them out and put in other players that might play the system better? You know, like if Bruno is such a problem, right? Why can't you take him out? Why? Because you made him your captain, then you're gonna fall on your sword. That's just, to me, that's stupid. It is stupid, and I don't think Erik Ten Hag is a stupid man, but I think his stubbornness is making him make bad decisions. Because, you know, if you're saying you take Bruno out, you push Maino up there, you put Xerxes there, you put Mount there, and we perform better. You take Rashford out and you put Garnacho and Diallo, and we perform better, and we play the system better. You know, it's a win for him. So I don't understand why he would refuse to do that if he's not going to change the system. If he refuses to change his system and his philosophy, you have to at least change some of the players that are not performing in the system that you're clearly trying to implement. But then that's a whole nother problem that we can talk about, because it's like, well, is he not seeing that they're not failing? Does he think it's other problems? Is he looking at something that, you know, we're not looking at? Or is he not looking at what we're looking at? Because there's also a disconnect between us and him. Clearly, because we think certain things and he keeps thinking that it's going to work for whatever reason. And I don't know why. Because it's not. It hasn't been. Gray's saying we can't talk badly about Diogo. Inzaghi is a decent shout, but has he not just signed a new contract? He might have. I actually don't know. We could look that up though. But we're going to talk about him. We need to learn from Arsenal, get rid of the top players and start over. I mean, that would be the best possible thing that we could do, Ray. 100% that, you know, we could possibly do, but the problem with Arsenal is that they gave Arteta that power, and I don't think they're going to give the manager that power. That would have to come from Ineos. I don't think we're going to get that opportunity where the manager is going to sit there and say, this guy, and this guy out. And the club goes, okay. I don't think, you know, it's going to have to come from Ineos. And really, that's probably the only hope we have, is that, you know, Jason Wilcox and Omar Barada and etc., that they do identify that, you know, a couple of these players that have been here for a while and that they see firsthand are problems, and they do decide that, you know, they have to be moved out. And I, you know, at least for Omar Barada, because the way he speaks and talks about what he believes in, and, you know, what he believes like he should do in terms of his role in the job. I do feel like, you know, if those players are really problems, and they're, you know, and they know they're problems, I think that they will be gone. The thing is that we just can't do anything about it right now. There's nothing we could do in this current moment with those players, other than the manager can drop them out of the squad, but he's not. So, because I think he believes that they are important players, but they are failing him. I mean, Bruno and Rashford, you know, Bruno of recently is failing him, and Rashford's been failing him. And you know, and yesterday was just a total failure. All the players, every player, even his own signings failed him. So, yeah. What system would you play? We literally play counter-attacking, which suits our 100-meter sprinters. I don't know if it would be, I don't know if I could tell you specifically, Grace, like formation-wise and stuff like that, but I would just play, I just want to see us play quick, attacking, you know, threatening, like, you know, maybe something similar to like Tottenham, and anything that resembles Tottenham, City, Arsenal. I just want us to be quick. I want us to be quick. I want us to be confident. I want us to create a lot of chances. I want us to take players on. I want us to, you know, I want us to have shots on goal and scoring goals. Like, I really don't want to see the team passing the ball sideways, passing the ball 5 meters from each other, passing the ball backwards all the time. I think, I don't know why no one's looked up this statistic, but I think we must be one of the teams in the Premier League. We pass backwards to the goalie more than any team in probably all of Europe. And you're talking about teams that line up in 5-backs and shit. I don't want to see that. I want to see us be. I want us to be scary. I think part of the problem is we don't play in a scary way. We don't play in a way that we make the other team nervous. I think we make the other team quite comfortable and they find more confidence in the match, because I don't think we play quick enough and I don't think we have enough attacking intent. So that's what I really want to see. Specifically, it would be more up to the manager, I guess, what formation you want to play and stuff. But those main core basics I want to see. I want to see the ball moved quicker. I want to see players, taking people on. I don't want to see our wingers not making runs when there's space in front of them and they're dropping deep to just sit there while the right back or the left back is literally running like right into them. I don't like any of that. I don't think it works. I don't think it's correct. I don't want any of that. So I just want, if somebody is going to come in, I want somebody to play attacking football. I want them to play high intensity attacking football in one way or another. And they need to be able to get whatever players we have that can do it to do it, and the other ones that can't, they got to be left out of the squad or not in starting positions. So if Rashford can't do it, or Bruno can't do it, or Xerxes can't do it, or Erasmus or Kobe or whoever it is, if they can't do it, then they can't get in the starting lineup. And the players that can, go in there, and they deserve it. We could probably get Rooney on the cheap. I mean, Rooney would be at least scoring some goals. He'd probably give us a good 7 minutes fitness wise, but I would play counter-attacking football. Well, right now, at this current moment, I mean, I don't know if that would even work, because I don't even think, yesterday was bad, but I think in the other matches, we haven't even been so bad, defensively, and our problems is attacking. And my issue is really with the attacking. I don't know if counter-attacking will work. I would like to see them given a little bit more freedom, in my opinion. I think that they don't have the freedom to really attack. I think they're playing in a restricted system. And I know that sounds similar to, what was being said about Mourinho, but we can't even counter-attack properly. We can't. We're still too slow. The coaching on that aspect hasn't been good, or the players are just not good enough to do it. I just don't. I don't know. Fair that Ruud's credentials is Dutch league, understandable. We are in such a shit situation. LOL, tough for managers to come. Here's the other thing. It will cost 17 million pounds, but we're gonna get all into that. So let me get into the couple more things. So on the Ruud replacement, as mentioned, this came from Rob Dawson, ESPN, saying that Manchester United believe they are well prepared to make a change of manager if results and performances do not improve. Promoting Ruud van Nistelrooy, at least in the short term, is considered a viable option if a change becomes necessary. The other update that came is a little bit not contradictory, but it kind of goes the other way, saying that Manchester United will look for a more experienced coach than Ruud van Nistelrooy should Erik Ten Hag be sacked. So basically, and you see, one's coming from Ben Jacobs, one's coming from Rob Dawson, ESPN. You see that, they'll put Van Nistelrooy as an interim if they don't have somebody to come in immediately, but they don't believe that Ruud is up to the level that they would want, so therefore Ruud would not become the permanent manager, and they would look for somebody else, which is kind of interesting, because, what happens to Ruud? Does he stay there? Does he end up staying there when you get the new manager in? Because, there's a lot of implications. There's a lot of things that come from this. I mean, we got Ruud, we got Hake, we got a couple Dutch players. So if Ten Hag goes, what happens to them? Like, does Ruud do interim and then he's let go? Because I assume the new manager, whoever it would be, they would obviously want somebody they can work with, unless they're willing to work with Ruud van Nistelrooy and Hake and everybody else that was brought in for Ten Hag and to work with Ten Hag. So, it's not just as black and white as sack the manager, and then everything will go swimmingly. There's a lot of aspects that we might have to change, and decisions that you have to make. What do you do with these guys? They just came in, they're just new. Is the new manager that you're gonna get, is that gonna implicate who Ineos decide to get if they were to get somebody? Are they going to pass up on somebody that you would say is probably the best option, but they refuse to work with Van Nistelrooy and Hake because Ineos don't want to get rid of them? There's a lot of big things, a lot of implications that come from sacking the manager. It's not just like you sack the manager and then it's like a fresh page. There's a lot of things you have to deal with, and a lot of things that if you don't get the correct decisions can cause a lot more problems in the end. So Rob Dawson also coming back in saying there's a growing acceptance in Manchester United that Erik Ten Hag is now under severe pressure ahead of crucial games against FC Porto and Aston Villa. So you're seeing that sentiment fly all around. And as Richard mentioned before, it would cost Manchester United 17.5 million to sack Ten Hag now, which I think might be part of the reason why Ineos are giving him these 2 matches to see, and they want to see, what is the reaction from the team. I guess they want to determine have the players completely given up, and they don't want to make such a rash reaction to a really bad result. They want to see if the players are, I guess, still fighting for Erik Ten Hag, because again, I said in the beginning of the show, if they're not fighting for him, as much as you don't want to give into player power, as much as you don't want to secede that power to them and let them control things, if they're not with him, then the situation, nothing you do, the situation won't improve, and it's just going to keep getting worse, and it's going to keep getting negative. So they will be forced to get rid of him anyway. But I think right now they're a little bit reluctant because it's not good. We're gonna have to pay a good amount of money. And like I mentioned, what do you do with Ruud? What do you do with Hake? What do you do with everybody else that came in? They bought a lot of players for Ten Hag, specifically. They believed he was the right guy. They trusted in him, but they might be forced into a change, because at the end of the day, as much as they don't want to do it, if you can't get the results, the season is in high jeopardy right now. I mean, it is on the edge of just absolute failure. And you have to, act quickly. And they are being pushed into a corner, Ineos. As much as they might not want to sack him, they might just have to be forced to sack him. So, Rajad is in here. Rajad, good to see you. So Fabrizio then came with a couple updates, saying Manchester United are currently not considering sacking Erik Ten Hag. There are no conversations about this at this moment. He also said the position of Manchester United is to keep trusting Erik Ten Hag and sticking with him. And then he also said the next 2 games will be important for Erik Ten Hag's future. It's not just about the result. They want to see how the squad will react to this difficult moment, the kind of performance on the pitch, and in terms of motivation. And I think that tweet probably sums everything up that I'm trying to say here and what's being said around the club right now. These next 2 matches, if we just go out and straight lose Tottenham style or whatever it is, I think as much as they, are backing him, and as much as they're trying to keep trusting him and sticking with him, they will have no option but to get rid of him. They will have no option but to get rid of him. And if they're looking at, how the squad reacts, and the squad reacts poorly, and the squad doesn't respond, obviously they have problems with players within the squad. But if the squad's not reacting to the manager, that aspect is dead. It's water. You're watering a dead plant. There's no reviving it. There's no growing it back. There's no bringing it back to life. Once it's dead, it's dead. It's over. So there's nothing you could really do about it, you know? And then Fabrizio also came up with this other update saying that the feeling was that the reaction in a difficult moment was not the reaction you expect from important players wearing a Manchester United shirt. And I think, I hope that means really that they're, looking more at the players than solely just the manager. I hope that doesn't mean that they're saying, like, in terms of the aspect of, like, the manager wasn't able to get the reaction out of the players, that they're blaming the players for what they did on the pitch. Because while Ten Hag is at fault for a lot of things, and while Ten Hag, has blame on his hands, at the same time, it's not all his fault. I mean, the players have done things too that they, have let him down. So I hope that means that Ineos are saying that the feeling of the reaction from the players, like the players, are to blame as well. And then we had this update from Jamie Jackson saying the mood was characterized as calm, though there is an acceptance that this is a big week for Ten Hag as he attempts to turn around his side's form. The suggestions that suggests losses in one or both games may lead to his removal, particularly in the manner of defeat, is again alarming. And I just said that, and I think it's obvious. I think that writing is on the wall for everybody to see. That's why I think he will get sacked, because I think he's in the position of doing the impossible. I think for this quick turnaround, to be able to come out of that Spurs loss, to take what we've been given in 6 matches in the Premier League, and the other matches that we played, and to turn it around and get a win, and in a good manner against these two teams, in these 2 matches, it's pretty much impossible, pretty much. And, maybe some people might ask or say, well, he was in the impossible position and he's kind of been here before the FA Cup match, and he went out there and won that match. But at the end of the day, I don't trust these players, because there's the aspect in my brain, and maybe I'm being cynical about it. But when they go and do things like this, I start to question everything. And maybe he was able to pull it off at that time because they didn't, maybe the players, they didn't do it for him. They didn't do it so he keeps his job. They did it for themselves, selfishly, because they get to say they beat City, and they get to say they won a trophy. There was something in it for them. Right now, there's nothing really in it for them. If they go out there and they play piss poor and they lose, they're still going to be here, and he'll be gone. So, the only thing that would be in there for them is if they want him to stay, if they don't want him to be sacked, and they like him and they buy into him. Because if that's not the case, then, what do they have to gain from going out there and performing good, other than, getting a little bit of praise from fans? But they might not give a shit, at the end of the day. They might not. And sometimes it's tough to say, because, when they go out there and put out displays like that, you really do see, like, you question if they actually give a shit, because how can you put in a performance like that, and say you give a shit, like how we give a shit, So, Lion saying with proper care, one can actually revive a dead plant. So maybe there's little hope. Well, yeah, I guess you're right. There is kind of ways, but if it's dead, it ain't coming back. If it's died completely, it ain't coming back. Lyle saying the players are also to blame. That much is true, but I all I see is a team completely lost, trying to play a system that doesn't work. Erik Ten Hag is trying the same thing, expecting a different result. And I think that's a good point, Lyle. Like that is, what we see from the outside, at least. Like, absolutely the players are to blame, and the manager is to blame as well. But they are lost. They are. You could tell they're lost. Like when we're on the pitch, we are lost. We don't know what they don't know what they're doing. They don't know what to do. They almost make it up as they go, which is why I think we see such shit performances and results, because it's like they don't actually know what they're doing. And at the same time, he keeps trying to play a system that obviously isn't working, and that the players aren't carrying out. So he keeps trying to do the same thing, and he thinks that at some point the results will be different, and it's completely implausible. Like it's 99% more likely that it's not going to happen. It's not going to work. It's not going to change. So yeah, it's it's just bad. I mean, wow, time has flown in this one. Please smash the like button if you haven't. I greatly appreciate it. Helps us out. And if you have, thank you. And subscribe if you're not a subscriber, because we're always live. I'm going to start going live a little bit more right now with the current schedule. So I might do a live show almost every day, if not every day. So we will probably go live tomorrow as well. Just so you're aware. So if you have notifications on, great. If you don't, turn them on so you can be with us when we go live. Lion saying, if it was the system that didn't work, then there would be something to fix, but there's no bloody system that I can see. Well, maybe you're right on that, or maybe, Lions, the system is just maybe the system, like the execution of the system and the plan is just so poor that it just looks like there is no system. Like maybe like I feel like there has to be a system. I feel like you can't be a manager and not have a system. You know what I mean? So I feel like there has to be a system. I just feel like the system, the execution of the system is so poor and it's so bad that it almost looks non-existent, to the point where we're questioning if there even is a system. But I think the real problem is kind of what Lyle was saying, is that, they're just lost and the system doesn't work because they can't do it, or they don't want to do it, or both. So and Lion saying, I just see a bunch of school kids fucking around on the playground kind of thing. I think if that was even the case, I think we would see a little bit more, because again, I'm still in the mindset that the system is restricting some of the players. I don't think they're playing well. I don't think they fit the system correctly, and therefore their performances are not great, but I think some of them are being restricted. I feel like with the players that we have, we need to be like just way more direct. We need to be way more direct and way more attacking, and we don't play in that way. And one of the big things for me is always like our wingers. Our wingers, like, yeah, sometimes they make runs in behind, but a lot of times they just sit on the touchline and stare at the right back or the left back, literally dribbling into them. And I don't understand why they're not being pushed to make the run in behind, because you're making it easier for the other team to defend. So like, I don't think we're actually necessarily playing to the strengths of the players we have. And, some might say maybe it's counterattacking. I think we could just be more direct. I think the players we have, we can play a lot more direct. And we don't play direct at all. We play very cautious. We try, it's almost like we try to do, a form of foreplay. But the foreplay is like so bad that like it's boring and it's just like a waste of time. I know what you're trying to say. Rich is saying it's like when you keep making the same mistakes and you think that you are going to get a different outcome. Yeah, I mean, I used the analogy yesterday. It's like burning your hand on a stove, and then you keep touching the stove thinking that you're not going to get burned again while the stove is still hot. Like, you're gonna keep getting burned. Like, and for you to keep touching the stove, you have a serious issue, because after you get burned, and maybe some people, they take not some learn the first time, some maybe the third time, but after a certain amount of times, you keep doing it. I don't know what to tell you anymore, because you should know and you should figure out that the fucking stove is hot. I'm gonna get burned. I got burned before. I got burned twice. I got burned the third time. I'm definitely gonna get burned the fourth time. But you just keep going to touch the stove and keep getting burned and keep getting burned, thinking that, oh well, eventually the stove will cool down and I won't get burned anymore. Yeah, but by the time you get to that point, you're severely injured. So it is like that. Rajat saying don't really like to live with what ifs, but could have, would have, or maybe. Need to see improvement with this team. Not exactly sure how it will take to build the team up. Ali never had systems. He liked to play football with vibe and moments. FC. Ray saying not his first time. We played bad and we turned up second half, but we were down to 10. Listen, about the second half, I was mad that they played good in the second half, but we need to hit on that point. Them playing good in that period in the second half, to me, it actually pissed me off even more than I originally was thinking, because I started thinking of it in a different way. The fact that you started doing that at that period and you didn't do it in the beginning, like that, it's bullshit. It's bullshit from the players. Number one, Tottenham let off the gas, right? They're up a man. They're up 2 goals. They don't need to do much. They just need to not concede, play, stay in their shape, and just see out the game. So they're in fucking cruise control, right? They gave us the game. We went and we played, right? That's why we looked better in that period. We also had changes. Maybe that had some effect as well. But to me, that period is bullshit, because they didn't do it from minute 1, and they're not getting credit, and they're not getting excused because they played good from 60 minutes to 75 minutes being a man down. They didn't do it from the beginning, and to me that was almost like fake, like we'll show you a little something, so you can't criticize us so much for being absolutely dog shit. So I'm not having none of that. That performance that they did in the second half, where they regained momentum, there was so many factors that had nothing to do with them actually playing good and actually trying. Tottenham did let off the gas. They did secede the game, and they were in easy mode because they won the match already. It was over. As soon as for me, the match was over as soon as Bruno got the red card, because I was like, there's no way we're coming back from this now. The way we were playing. As soon as they scored the second goal, which we let in immediately in the start of the second half, the game was totally over. We were never going to come back in that match. So, I'm not letting them off the hook. I'm not giving them credit for that, because to me, it's a bunch of bullshit. It's complete and utter bullshit that they could even do that. Go fix Man United with some FIFA kinda only the way, or Football Manager. Bruno or VAR masterpiece yesterday. Can't decide yet. Rajat saying, I'm so excited about Dan Gore, Chody, Obi Martin, and Shea Lacey. Well, there's some positives from Rajat. Maybe we could focus on those aspects. We do have, some younger players that are looking pretty good, and hopefully we get to see them coming in soon. But, that's kind of being overshadowed by just a shower of shit and negativity right now. And it's not really the main focus, but, maybe later down the line. Richard saying, I can tell you the way we played yesterday, 11 or 10 would have made no difference. We were shit and Tottenham weren't even that good. And I sort of agree with you there. I mean, not I sort of agree with you. I agree with you. Like, we were shit and we were shit with 11. And it just, it does feel like my only hoping was that, if we had 11 and we came back out, Because to be 10 and to start the match, we still made mistakes. We were still poor. But I just felt like it does still change the dynamic even a little bit, because even the belief drops. You are a man down. If you have 11, you go into the dressing room and you come up with a plan of how to change things and play better. We might have been maybe able to play a little bit better. And we still did have, or we would have had a bigger chance. But to be down 10 and to play in that manner and then go out in the second half, and continue to play poor. The way we played in the first half, we could have played 700 minutes, and we wouldn't have scored, and we wouldn't have won that match with 11. You could have gave us 12 fucking players. We wouldn't have won that match. So I get what you're saying, Richard. But we did get affected by that as well. It at least robbed the opportunity a little bit. The rest of it, majority of it's still on the players and the setup. Who is the best technical players Manchester United have? I will say Ahmad, Diego Dalot, Mazwari when he's ready to play, fully fit, Luke Shaw left back. I think you could probably add Garnacho in there. Technically, Christian Eriksen when he's on his day, but you never know really what you're gonna get, because he does, he's shown some good things, but then he has moments in the match where he's like very, very poor. The corner kicks were horrendous. The mistake he made against Twente was bad. He scored a brilliant goal. When he gets involved, he's technically good with his passing. I think Casemiro, I think you've seen when he came on, I think with the balls, like with the passing in that aspect, I think he's good in that aspect. But for me, I don't think Rashford is that good at it. I think he used to be until he got that injury, and then ever since he had that like back injury or whatever, he just never went back to, every time he sprints and does his little runs into the box and he tries to do like a couple skill moves, he just never regained that sharpness of like the ball was like stuck to his foot. He always loses it. Bruno just is like all over the place and does too many crazy things. I think Mainu has it as well, but he's still young and needs to develop and sharpen his game a little bit more, which I think he can, but I don't think it's the highest right now. But Ray's saying we should stick with Erik Ten Hag for the rest of the season. I just don't think I don't think we can, Ray. I don't think we can, because I don't think it's possible, because I don't think we'll get the results to be able to do that. I don't think it's, like I said yesterday, we by next weekend, if we lose to Porto and they don't sack him and they give him the Villa game and we lose to Villa and the other teams win, we will be in 16th place. 16th place. And people are arguing right now because Bournemouth are playing. I actually don't know the score, so if somebody wants to update us on that, greatly appreciated. But if Bournemouth win today, we're going to 13th, and people are saying already that any top club, if you're in 13th, you would be sacked. Like Real Madrid would sack their manager, Barcelona would sack their manager, Liverpool, Manchester City, Arsenal. Everybody, Bayern Munich, they would all sack their manager. 3-1 Bournemouth. So we're going to 13th. So we are in 13th, but we're in 13th place. And by next weekend we could be in 16th. And 16th is Manchester United manager. You can't give him the rest of the season, because you're in such a bad spot. You're running the risk of actually getting relegated. That's how bad it is. Like you could actually be closer into a relegation battle than being safe. Fernandez form must be down to fatigue, right? Even his red card. Well, he does seem fatigued. He does seem overworked. I think he's also playing with frustration. I don't know what it is. There is the aspect of, people are mentioning that, there was that whole thing with the Sancho post that Sancho put up and Bruno commented on it, and it kind of seemed like that Bruno supports Sancho, and and that he's mates with him or whatever, and it kind of flies in the face of the manager because it was the manager versus Sancho, and Bruno's going out there and commenting on his social media post, and he doesn't necessarily have to do that. He could just like send him a message privately if he would choose to do that, but he chose to do it publicly. So maybe Bruno is also fed up with Ten Hag. Maybe he didn't want Ten Hag to stay. Maybe he doesn't like the system. Maybe he thinks the tactics are wrong. I mean, and that's a huge problem because Bruno is his captain. So if Bruno is turned on him, right, or Bruno doesn't believe on him, why do you think the rest of the team is looking like shit? Because nobody is buying into them. I mean, they have WhatsApp groups. They talk to each other privately, not in front of the manager or any coaching staff. They have their own discussions, and if that's the feeling around the players, then that's why we're seeing what we're seeing, because they're done with him. They're fed up with him. They don't believe in the system. They don't like the style. They're done with the whole thing. That's what I'm saying. If that is the truth and that is the fact, then he is going to go, and he would have to go, because you're not going to get anything out of that. You're beating a dead horse on that aspect. Calling Ugarte those names like Uruguay and McTominay, Ugarte, Gallagher is, to be honest, crazy. I mean, who's doing that on social media and stuff? Twitter and X is crazy. It's and a lot of it's all for clicks and interaction because people are trying to get paid. So don't pay too much into it. It's all a lot of bullshit. I don't know how the Glazers haven't come up with Manchester United. Sir, don't give them ideas, Rajat. Don't give them ideas. That shit will probably be poison and kill every single one of us anyway. Just don't give them ideas, Rashad. Don't give them ideas. 4 points off top. Us right now. Wait, who? Who's 4 points off top? Lyle. I'm confused. Lion saying, here's a food for thought. What about if we all disconnect in the team? What about if all the disconnect in the team has all to do with Scott leaving? I do believe he is one of the big leaders and well liked in the team. Well, that's another aspect, and it's a good point, Lions. You could say that for probably a couple amount of players. I mean, I think there was a problem with the way De Gea was let go, and I think the decision around De Gea, and I think it was reported that Ten Hag had, if not the final say, he had a big say in that, and I think a lot of players were hurt and upset about that. Sancho has a few mates in there, and I don't think that they side with Sancho over Erik Ten Hag on that aspect. So there's that. There was the thing with Cristiano Ronaldo, and I'm sure a lot of them respect and like Ronaldo as well, and they probably sided with Ronaldo over Ten Hag on that. And maybe we don't know exactly whose actual decision was to sell Scott McTominay, whether that was actually Erik Ten Hag or it was the club as a whole. But maybe that's had an impact as well, and they don't like the fact that Scott was the one that was to be sold, and maybe they think other players deserve to not be there that are there, or it's this is what I'm saying. We've entered into a period again where it's just a mess, and it's bubbling toxicity, and it's not going to detoxify itself. It's not going to get clean. It's just going to get worse. It is. Don't think they mentally feel good. They definitely don't. Kind of want a new goalkeeper. I don't know who will be goalkeeper. Well, I guess it kind of depends on the manager. The new manager, or whoever would be the new manager to come in. And, as well as Omar Barada, because he does have that statement where, you have 1 to 2 seasons to prove your worth. If not, we move you on to get the resale value. So, if they decide that he ain't good enough either, or whatever, or I think he's a problem, then they could ship him out in the summer as well. Because, again, Erik Ten Hag, that was his signing. And they might have to move him on, and the new manager might not want that goalkeeper, or they might say, he's not good enough. So, but I think yesterday, I did see that, some people I don't know why, but he was actually getting a lot of criticism, and I was like, well, he was like one of the only players that actually helped us out yesterday. Now, I think he could have done better, on the second goal, especially, but if it wasn't for him at the same time, we could have conceded another 3 or 4 goals. So, it's a give and take with that, but I don't believe, he was bloody awful compared to the rest of the squad. Lions saying, what did Bruno say? I don't do social media. So it was a couple weeks ago, Lions, when Sancho got his debut for Chelsea and he ended up getting an assist. Sancho put up a post, I think it was on Instagram, I believe, just like standard social media post about, a picture of him on the pitch in a Chelsea kit or something. And Bruno commented on it and said something, just basically giving him support. And it was seen rather negative because obviously, the rift between him and Ten Hag, and Bruno is his captain, and Bruno is going under a player that went against the manager, and publicly making a comment, and you are the captain of Manchester United, so it wasn't perceived very well. Now, you can buy into that a lot more than maybe you should, or maybe there is actually something in that, but that's why those things aren't good, because now, there's conspiracies. There's conspiracies to come out of that. Leech, a butcher, been turning vegan. I mean, I said it yesterday. I don't know what they did to my butcher, but they've turned him into a goddamn butter knife. I don't know. Like, everybody seems soft. Everybody seems lacking confidence. Everybody seems down. Everybody seems uninspired. That's what I said. They turned my butcher, instead of a butcher knife, is a butter knife. He's got there's no teeth to it. There's no bite. It's just I don't get how we've hit this period so quickly, so fast. Vegan butcher, Leecha the gardener. All right. Don't go too much into Leecha. Leech have been doing that lawn care. Sorry, Eric. I meant we are 4 points off the bottom. Yeah. I mean, that's what I'm saying. Like, we are absolutely just we are in a. You couldn't necessarily be probably. I don't want to say it because somehow we'll find a way to do it, but you can't be in a worse position. And somehow they'll find a way to be in a worse position. But, yeah. Eric, we're not present, I feel. We're not. Well, 18th to be fair, 6 points off 20th. Yeah, I mean, that's what I'm saying. Like, when you look at that, you can't stick with him. You won't be able to, even if you want to. You won't. It's just impossible. It is literally impossible mathematically, and just in a football sense, it is impossible. It is impossible. No, I wish it was something like that, Rashad. I wish they partied too much. I wish that was the reason. Because at least you could address that. I think the problems that we have are deep rooted, and there's a lot of them. It's not just one. It's not just one issue. But smash the like button for me if you didn't, and let's get into the next couple things because we have some more updates, and we're going to get into names that have been linked with Manchester United following the updates about Erik Ten Hag and the pressure, and the looming sack that is hanging over his head right now. No pun intended on that. That sounded sus as hell. But let's just move past that. How about that? So one of the names linked with Manchester United today is Simone Inzaghi has emerged as a serious contender to become the next Manchester United manager if Erik Ten Hag is sacked. And we need to see if he did sign a new if he did sign a new contract, which I'm searching up right now. because obviously that would mean that it's probably less likely. So Inter Milan head coach Simone Inzaghi has signed a 1-year contract extension to keep him at the club until 2026. This was July 12th, 2024. So he's still contracted for another 2 seasons. So it's not the longest contract, but obviously we would have to buy him out of the contract. You know, and I don't know. I mean, I know they play good football, into and in the Serie A and stuff like that. They played Manchester City last time. They did very well against them in that terms. I don't know if it would be the right fit for Manchester United. I don't necessarily know a whole lot about him because I don't really watch the Serie A. I don't really watch, Inter Milan too much, so I can't wholeheartedly give my opinion on if he's going to be the right guy. And I don't really want to anymore at this point. I've been doing it for past couple managers, and every single one of them have just ended in failure. So I don't want to do that anymore. I just, whoever they pick, and I take it from there, and we'll see, and I'm just going to take it, for face value, whatever they give us at Manchester United, and I'll choose to whether if I want to back it, accept it, or think it's good enough. But this speculation, on these managers, you get caught up with one manager, you get all hyped up, and it just ends in failure anyway. So I'm not going to get dragged into this entire thing. Whoever they decide they're going to bring in, if they do sack Erik Ten Hag, then so be it. The only thing that I will say is I'm adamant is that I definitely don't want Graham Potter, and I definitely don't want and I don't want Gareth Southgate. I don't want them. Any other manager that's considered a good manager, a top manager, if you want them, bring them. Even like Tuchel, who I was against, if they think he's the right man, at least he's considered some type of a top coach, and he's not, Southgate or Potter, because I don't think that they're anywhere good enough. And if you're going to bring in somebody like Southgate, I'd rather just sit here with Ten Hag and continue to see out the shit show. And the same thing with Potter. So, yeah, there was talk, because obviously Ali was in the news speaking about the other day, which I didn't cover because I just think it's nonsense anyway. And I don't really like that stuff, so I didn't cover it. But Ali obviously gave some interviews. He said something at one point similar along the lines of, if Manchester United asked me to come back or wanted me, I would absolutely take the job again. And this update came out from Ben Jacobs saying Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is not expected to be offered to return to Manchester United if Erik Ten Hag is sacked, which I'm going to say is a huge positive, because I think if they were to get Solskjaer back, I think it would be the stupidest and dumbest move ever. I don't want to go backwards. I don't want to go back to any manager that was already here. You don't go back to the past. He was here. It was done. He should never get the job ever again. He had his opportunity. He had his time. It didn't work. We moved forward. He's moved forward. And we should never revisit that ever again. And that goes for any manager. Once you're here and you go, never again. Never. You can never do it twice. It would just be stupid and foolish. So, yeah, I think it's just mostly paper talk. It's not anything like that. After Villa, we have Brentford, West Ham, Chelsea, and Leicester. Back in the day, we could pick which game is an easy win, but now I can't see a win anywhere. And 100% Lyle. I mean, we can lose all those matches, but we could get, 2 points out of that maybe. I mean, the Villa, I could see a loss. Brentford, I could see us getting like a draw if we don't lose. West Ham, same thing. I could see us getting like a draw if we don't lose. Chelsea, I think right now can beat us. Or would definitely beat us. And I think Leicester, the same. I don't see where a win would necessarily come from. I don't see how, I think all these teams, they're all playing better than us. They're all performing better than us. They're all in a better position than us. And they're not in a situation like we're in, where everything is negative and where everything is bad. So, Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Honestly, why would Inzaghi come to United over staying at Inter? That is asking to stress yourself out. Well, there is always that aspect, Lyle, that, you know, obviously Manchester United is seen as a bigger club, than Inter Milan. Not better, but bigger, right? And there is always that egotistical things to these guys that are in this high competitive sport. You know, they always believe like they are the guy that can get the job done. They are the person that will succeed. They are the person that will get things right and actually do a good job. So, you know, it's the same thing you could say for players. It's the same thing you could say for managers. Like, they might hear of problems, they might know of a couple problems, they don't know exactly what it is until they get into that position and they're on the inside and doing day-to-day operations. But at that moment they're going to believe like, you know, okay, those people failed, but I won't fail. It's an egotistical thing, and you know, it's not necessarily a bad thing because it's helped them get to where they are and it helps them, you know, do their job and perform. But yeah, it's probably something more like that. But it is still, you know, why would you know, you add into, you guys are in the Champions League, you're in a good state. So for me, more likely than not, and he is Italian also, by the way, so he would have ambitions. It would have to be like he has ambitions to coach in the Premier League, or he has, you know, something, an infatuation with Manchester United or something like that for him to want to come, other than the typical, you know, things. Rajat comparing the Ali thing, like going back to your ex-boyfriend or girlfriend, 100%. Like, it just, you know, it just doesn't make sense. And I think that's more of a media thing anyway. So, Bournemouth W confirmed, full-time 3-1. So Manchester United have moved into 13th place in the league, which is just, you know, why don't you put a cherry? That's the cherry on top of a cake, literally made out of shit. You know, instead of a nice birthday cake with vanilla frosting or chocolate, they've replaced the chocolate with actual literal shit, and then they put a cherry on top of it. Yeah, so, you know, from yesterday to today, well, actually, there is something on Eddie Howe, and we'll get into that. But Tuchel was also mentioned. Thomas Tuchel is unlikely to be a front runner for the Manchester United job if Erik Ten Hag is sacked, even though the German would welcome a fresh approach. So apparently, Tuchel still wants the job. And he would welcome if they contact him back, but it seems like it's more from the Ineos side that they don't really want to go down that route based off of the previous discussions they had, and that's probably because they're still going to stand firm on the fact that they don't want to secede as much control as he wants to the manager, which goes back to Ray's point earlier of the fact that, you know, we can't necessarily do what Arsenal did unless Ineos do it themselves in tandem with the manager, because they're not going to give the manager that power. I mean, Arteta was given that power. Basically, you know, Edu told, you know, Arteta, you identify exactly which players are the problems because you're working with them every day. You let me know who they are and we will get them out of the club, and then we work together to identify to bring in replacements for them. And we could still kind of do something like that, but, you know, he's the manager in this current situation doesn't have that actual final say like Arteta did. Like Arteta, if he decided, you know, this player is the problem, and he told Edu, you know, this guy is the problem, then Edu just says okay. There wasn't going to be like, you know, oh, but we think he's good, or we want him to stay at the club. Like, whatever Arteta was saying, they were doing. But they were doing it together as a team. So they were backing him and they trusted him in those decisions. And then they worked together to bring in replacements and identified, you know, replacements that are going to fit the team correctly. Lions, we're in 13th place. That's what that means. We're in 13th place now. We're in 13th place. And if we go to play Villa on the weekend, and I believe, I'll tell you right now. So we are in 13th. No, we're. Oh, did they not update it? Yeah, they didn't. It didn't get updated on my thing. Yeah, so So Bournemouth has jumped us. We've gone down to 13th, and then there's West Ham, Ipswich, Everton, in 14th, 15th, and 16th. So if we go to play Aston Villa next week and we lose and we get 0 points, we'll have 7. If West Ham win, they'll get 8, so they'll jump us. If Ipswich win, they'll have 7, but they'll most likely have a higher goal difference than us, so they'll jump us. And if Everton also win, they'll also have 7, but they'll most likely have a higher goal difference than us, and therefore they will also jump us. So we will end up in 16th place, and then also depending on what Leicester do, because they have 3 points, so they could be right up our ass, off of 1 point difference, and they're in 17th, and then we are literally, we'd be maybe. We would be in a relegation battle. We are very, very close to being in a relegation battle. So yeah, we're kind of fucked, Erik Ten Hag, gotta catch them all. Let's get your game on. Mixed Pokemon. I do. All right. So Eddie Howe was also mentioned because Rajab mentioned Eddie Howe, and apparently Eddie Howe is a name who Manchester United discussed over this summer. Now, while I'm not going to go all in on a manager or a replacement, because I just said that I'm not, I do like Eddie Howe. I don't know, if he would succeed. I don't know if he would be the right man per se, but I do like Eddie Howe. I like the job he's done at Newcastle. I think, I don't know if he has the experience to do it, but I think he's a decently good candidate. And I would be at least slightly encouraged because I think he's a good manager. He obviously, Newcastle with the money injection and all that is his biggest club that he's managed so far, and he does have his own faults and problems. But I think, out of a couple people that have been mentioned, I think he is a decently good candidate out there. I just don't know if, he would be the one. But he is technically on the younger side of a lot of the managers. And he knows the Premier League well. And I think he has like a good style to him as well. So I don't think he's a bad candidate. I just don't know if he's the best option, for sure. So, and then Southgate and Potter, Gareth Southgate and Graham Potter would both likely be candidates for the Manchester United job if Erik Ten Hag is sacked. That came from Ben Jacobs, which makes me want to put my head in a pot of boiling hot water. I don't want either one of these people. I don't want them linked. I don't want to see their name next to the word Manchester United. I don't want them at the club. If they come to the club, I mean, the number one thing, Gareth Southgate, if he comes to the club, I will seriously consider just quitting watching, until he gets sacked, because he will get sacked and he will fail, because he is he's a horrible manager. He's boring. He doesn't have a damn clue. And I will just be like, why didn't we just stick with Ten Hag then? That is not an option of a person to bring in if you're going to sack Erik Ten Hag. As bad as the situation is, and as much as you might be forced into sacking the manager, I don't give a crap. He is fucking awful. And then Graham Potter isn't really any better. I mean, why? He hasn't gotten a job since he got sacked from Chelsea. And we saw how it went at Chelsea. It was a damn disaster, and our problems are worse. If they didn't buy into him over there at Chelsea, you think our players are gonna buy into him and his style? No way. It would be a total failure. So those two definitely not. Don't go anywhere near them. Don't do anything. Luckily, we got an update after that from Laurie Whitwell, who is obviously super, super credible, and said on Gareth Southgate to Manchester United, every time I've asked a question, I've been steered away from it. Which actually, I read that in a different way before. Now I'm reading it and I'm like, well, what the fuck is that supposed to mean? Does that mean that, like, I thought he was saying like that they steered away from it, like that they dismissed it. But now I'm sitting here and I'm like, well, what does that mean? What does that mean? I swear to God, if they get Gareth Southgate, I'm not fucking watching. I'm not. I'm really not. I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it to myself. I'm not. I'm really not. I can't. I can't take that. You know, after everything that we've been through over the past 11 years, and this is what you're gonna do to us and our club. I can't do that. I can't do that. Amir is in here. Erik Ten Hag has no idea and tactical. I don't know how to use the player that is already fit game match. Lyle saying that is very interesting. Oh no, he's having a different conversation. All right. Now we do have one little update. And Amir saying Erik Ten Hag will go soon. Well, that's definitely the feeling right now, and that definitely seems like the most likely outcome. Amir. For sure. I think, I said it before. I don't know if you were in here, but, I think he's just in the impossible. Nah, it's fine, Lyle. That was my fault. I read something. I shouldn't have. No, yeah, I just think he's in the impossible situation. I think, for you to get two positive results out of these two matches, I just don't think it's going to happen. I don't think it's going to happen. If I was to place a bet, I would certainly not bet on him winning Porto or Villa. I'm not putting that. I'm not putting a bet down on that. That's like, I might as well just, burn my money. So I don't think he's gonna be able to do it. I don't think he's gonna be able to get it done. So I think he's out. Rude, our future manager, maybe. Well, you missed the update. So I'll bring it back since you are bringing that up. But there was updates, and I don't think so, unless we do something similar to Ali-esque. Let me find this thing. Where is it? So this was the rude thing. So they are prepared to push Rude as an interim if Ten Hag is sacked and they don't have somebody to come in immediately. But the update that followed that was that Manchester United will look for a more experienced coach than Ruud van Nistelrooy should Erik Ten Hag be sacked. So it doesn't seem like Ruud van Nistelrooy would become the permanent manager unless they pull an Ole Gunnar Solskjaer and they give him the interim. They do good for 3 months and they decide to make him the full-time manager, which I think would be just the wrong decision. I don't think Ruud has the experience for it. The job at hand is way too big. We've been down that path before, and while I think Van Nistelrooy is a way better coach than Ole Gunnar Solskjaer has ever been, I just think the enormity of the problems at Manchester United and the job and the task at hand for somebody like with the experience of Ruud van Nistelrooy, I think is too great. I think it's too big for him. And I think it would end in failure. So I don't expect that to be. I don't expect that to be. Line saying, surely we're not really entertaining the notion to take Southgate on as manager. I don't know. They keep linking us to him. They keep saying, they keep putting his name with us. They were doing it, at the end of last season. They're doing it now even more because obviously he's not the manager of England anymore. So he is available. So, I expect the links to continue. I just hope that it's not serious. I hope that it's not an actuality. I hope it's just English press bullshit. Because it would just be a fucking joke to get Gareth South. Nobody, not even Helen Keller, who is fucking blind, and she can't watch his football. Even she would know that he's not a good manager and that he's shit. Like, nobody in the world thinks that guy is a good manager. He will stay jobless. He will never get a job in the Premier League unless our club, are stupid enough to do that. Because no other team would do that. Not even the small team. Not even a team that's going to fight for relegation and they might sack 3 managers on the bounce in the same season. Not even they would give him the fucking job. So, if we were to do that, it's all over and, it's just done. But to move away kind of from the manager thing, just for a little bit, because there was an update before we went live. So I want to talk about it. It's a little bit, it's a shift from what we were talking about. But apparently Manchester United are beginning to accelerate plans to sign a new left back with Robinson on their list for a prolonged period. United are unlikely to want to meet Fulham's 40 million demands. Liverpool and Chelsea are also contemplating whether to up the ante in their pursuit. So it seems like the next thing that we're getting, in terms of transfers, will be a left back. Now, obviously we're all pissed the fact that we're getting fucked currently from not having a left back, and there's all types of arguments in that, but at least we are continuing to identify and look at players to bring in for positions that we still need. So I like Robinson. American. He's actually older than I thought he was. I thought he was younger, but he's 27 to 28 years old. So moves a little bit away from where Ineos was going, but I think at some point, while we are bringing youth, you kind of have to balance it out with experienced and more developed players also. So yeah, Amir, the Ten Hag sack is definitely most likely incoming. I mean, I don't expect him to win these two matches. I don't. I think if you're somebody that thinks that, he's going to somehow get a performance and result with this group of players in these two difficult matches coming up, I applaud you for your optimism and positivity, but also I think that you're living in La La Land and you're not looking at reality, because I think the reality of the fact is that he will lose both those matches. And if you lose both those matches, Manchester United go into a position that you can no longer continue to go down that current path with the captain steering that ship. And that's just the facts of it. You have to win till Friday. I mean, I'm sitting by the phone in case your gym calls. Well, yeah, Richard's always available. I'd take Richard any day of the week. Certainly over Southgate for sure. Richard would actually have us play some good football. Gareth Southgate would have us play football that makes our entire fan base want to jump off of Mount Everest. So yeah. That's how you make money, but against all odds. I mean, yeah, but or you consistently bet on low odds with a higher amount. You never know, Richard. You never know. So Robinson is there. Let me check to see if we got any other news while we went live, because usually there's some news in there. So let me see. All right. So yeah, I mean, I got a message from one of my good buddies yesterday, and I he's a Liverpool fan. He sent me a screenshot of the table, and he said, "Where did the United go? I can't find them. We don't even appear on the fucking top half of the table anymore. So, we're not even good enough to be on the top of the second page of the table. So we can't even be top of the second page of the table, let alone the first page of the table. I mean, we are just shot to shit. Not good. Not good. There is actually, I'm surprised that there is no news. Usually we get news, but we don't have anything. Let me just see if I missed anything. It came out. Wesley Schneider has some comments. So if you want this Dutch to Dutch thing, he's commented on Erik Ten Hag, saying Wesley Schneider has said, "We now read reports. This is the week of truth for Erik Ten Hag. What's this all about? What if he draws versus Porto and accidentally beats Aston Villa? That would fix everything for them. What is this policy? So this club is already working on maybe appointing a new manager, but at the same time, these two results can change everything. I mean, he has a point there. It doesn't, and I was gonna mention this before. It doesn't really make sense, but maybe they're just trying to bide their time. But I again, I would say to Wesley, like how I said before, I think it doesn't fix everything, and it doesn't necessarily change the things that are wrong, and it doesn't necessarily mean that, you know, things are going to improve and the season's going to actually get better. But I just think that 100% for sure, if you don't win those two matches, you put the club in a position that no matter who you are as a manager, you cannot keep your job. Like Manchester United staying in 13th, potentially ending up in 16th or 14th or 15th, depending on results of other teams. You know, you can't have that. You can't be the manager of Manchester United and be in that position and keep your job. You can't. And you also at the same time can't be the manager of Manchester United, and we're not even in Champions League, we're in fucking Europa League, which is seen as a step down for our club. And, you know, it was a competition that people put us as, you know, in the top 4 of favorites, if not the favorite, to win the Europa League. And you're going to start the competition of Europe with 1 point in 2 matches. You know, you can't. Like, so it doesn't fix everything, you know, if he ties or whatever. And if he accidentally beats Villa, it doesn't fix the problems. It's not going to, like, necessarily change things, and it might not improve things. It might, maybe, for whatever miracle reason, I don't know. But that's not the actual point. The point is that where the position of the club will be. The club will be forced into a position that they have to sack him. Now, maybe they're trying to buy themselves time. Maybe they don't want to appoint Rude. Maybe they're trying to, you know, weigh out their options, or maybe they're just being patient. Maybe they are really trying to still back him, and maybe they want to give him this period. And maybe they do want to see, you know, what is the reaction from the players and the squad and the team themselves. Maybe they're judging all of that. Maybe they're taking everything into consideration before they make their decision. Because Ineos, if one thing that we learned so far, they're not erratic. They will, if anything, probably more annoyingly to the fans, actually take a little bit more time than most people would to make a decision, and actually take extra time to see how things are playing out or review certain stuff before they make a decision. They don't rush on their decisions. They take longer, actually, which can be good, but can also be bad. So, you know, yeah. Jamie Jackson coming out saying high place sources. No, we went over that already before. So there's an article about the next potential managers for Manchester United. What? I hate these like clickbait shits. Alright, never mind. But one win can get you up to 9th place. I mean, yeah, depending on results, I guess, right? From other clubs. Because if we do win, that gets you to 10th. So that gets you 10 points. And that would depend on, obviously, then what Brentford, Forest, Brighton, Tottenham, and Tottenham do. So, I mean, yeah, that is true as well. I mean, one win can help in that aspect, because it would put you in a different position. But, I mean, maybe that's why they're giving him the matches, because technically it can go both ways. So, but that's kind of what I've been trying to say this whole time, is that, you know, if he does lose these 2 matches, that position that the club goes in, you have no choice but to sack him. If he wins it, he gives himself at least an opportunity to continue to fight out of it, because then we will move up and we will get some points, and we won't be as low. But if you don't win these 2 matches, you're gone. Like, you can't stay in that position. You can't. No manager can keep their job in that position at all. So yeah, it's just it's do or die. It's do or die. And I don't have the belief, and I don't have the confidence, really, and it's not really an Erik Ten Hag himself. It's really just the rest of the squad and the players. I just don't think, like, there's so many aspects. I just really feel like they're not going to show up. I just do. I don't think they're going to be able to do the job, and I don't know if they want to. I don't know if they can. Even if they go there and they do try for the manager and they don't down tools and they don't play like complete dog shit. I don't know if they're even still good enough to perform to get a good result or a decent result in these 2 matches. So Lions thinks that he's gone, and that's how I feel. I feel like he's gone. Like, I just feel like it's over for him. Now, anything can happen. And he can win these 2 matches. We could go, we could. I don't see it happening. I don't see how it would happen. But I'm not going to say there's zero chance. He could go beat Porto at their home 2-0 or whatever, or some shit, get a good result, go to Villa, beat them, good scoreline, 2-0, 2-1, 3-1, whatever it is, 3-2, and he could get the 6 points out of 6 points, and then we'll be talking differently, for sure, because we'll be in a different kind of situation where we will move up in certain places. But I just don't see if we win and Spurs lose against Brighton on Sunday, we be the same points, 100%. We were the same points, so that makes sense. But I don't care if he stays or not. But numbers don't lie. Well, that's what I'm saying. That's really what I'm saying. The numbers don't lie. So he has to get the numbers, but he's needed to get these numbers, and he hasn't got them. And all indications point to the fact that he's probably not going to get them. Now, if he does get them, we can talk about it in a different way, because it'll be a different aspect and a different position. But if he doesn't, then it's over with. It's over with. So it was already a losing battle for him this season before it even started. I mean, yeah, he was always having to climb the mountain. Coming off of last season, he was always having to climb the mountain. He wasn't walking a flat path. He wasn't walking a straight path. He was always had to go uphill, and it was always going to be a difficult climb. And a dangerous climb. And if you make mistakes along the climb and you slip and fall, you die. Or in this case, you lose your job. Richard's saying, yeah, if he wins, it's a different dynamic. And it is. And I guess, see how we rationalize that. So while, back to Wesley Sneijder's comments, and I'm using those because I've seen a lot of our fans say the same thing. And I was kind of sort of thinking as well, but it does make sense. I mean, it's not all hope is essentially lost, because if we win, we will push up the table. And then obviously, depending on exactly what happens, I mean, Tottenham are playing Brighton. So, they could both. I mean, a draw would be bad, because then we can't jump either one of them unless we score a lot of goals against Villa. But we would be at least tied and push up. And then, but it would depend on what happens. Depends on Forest, depends on Brentford as well. So yeah, it would definitely be the pending results. But if you get 3 points, at least you move up somewhere out of the table, and you kind of push yourself. You kind of push yourself away a little bit. Win, stay, lose, go. Yeah, that's how I see it. And I just feel like we're not going to get the win, because they haven't shown us. They haven't shown us that they're going to get it. They haven't done it all season. And the only hope, and really, you're living on a prayer. Who is that? Bon Jovi or whatever. That's probably wrong. I don't even know. But living on a prayer, you know, the prayer is that the players have not given up on the manager and they're not going to down tools, which is a huge prayer, because I don't trust these players. I don't trust them at all. And I don't have confidence in them to not down tools. I'm very worried that, you know, we're gonna go to Porto and we're gonna get fucking slapped 3-0. Because they don't have these problems. Porto, they're gonna want to beat us. They're gonna be home. They're gonna be aggressive. They're gonna want to beat us. They're very prideful. You know, the fans and their team, they're gonna play with heart. They're gonna play with everything they got. They're gonna be on the pitch battling. And they're gonna leave it all out there on the pitch. And I can't say that the same for our players and our team. And so in that aspect, I think before the match even started, unless they decide to find that somewhere in themselves where they haven't found it all season so far, in that aspect, I think we've already lost. So yeah, it's just, you know, you want me to believe. I can't believe. I'll believe when they show me something. I'll believe when they show me something. I'm tired of being hopeful. When they can't even be bothered to fucking show us something to be hopeful for. They need to show me something. Show me something. Show me in this match and show me in the next match, and I'll believe more. But after yesterday, I can't believe. I can't believe in them. I can't believe in them, because to believe in them would mean I have to trust them, and I don't trust them. I don't trust these players anymore. I don't. I don't trust these players. I don't trust this team. I don't trust this direction that we're going in. I don't. I don't think anything good is going to transpire from this. I hope I'm wrong, because that means my team wins. And my team starts going will be in a better position, like a more positive position than we currently are in. But I just don't see it, and I'm not gonna give myself false hope that, you know, we're going to turn it around, because, you know, I did that for Tottenham. I was nervous. I was afraid that something like that was going to happen. I said it. I had that feeling, but I propped myself with hope, because I was like, you know, for me, my mentality would be as that player, like, this is the fucking match that you go and you do it. You do it at home, at Old Trafford versus Spurs. And they were nowhere near that. They were nowhere near to representing that. And you know, I'm not the only one that felt like that. There was thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions of our fans that were thinking the same way. And those players did not represent that on the pitch for us. So I can't, you know. Lions believes in flying pigs. Yeah. The whole next 2 game thing is the same shit as the FA Cup final all over again. Yeah, it is. It kind of does. It feels like that. Similar vibes for sure. Ray's saying he has something in him that tells him that we can do the impossible. I don't know. I still think, you know, the FA Cup thing, I think there was something in it for the players themselves. I think this, you know, selfishly, there was something in it for them to do. It wasn't about Ten Hag and saving his job. It was about them, you know, getting to brag that they beat City and that they won an FA Cup trophy, because it goes on their name. At this moment in time, there's not much for them to win, and there ain't much for them to really lose in this position. And that's why we're in a dangerous position anyway, because listen, the players, as much as you don't want to hear it and you don't want to like it, the players have full fucking control right now over this situation. Whether you want it or not, they have full control over this situation, because if they decide that they've had enough of this manager and they decide that they can't be fucking asked to play even a decent game, they're going to lose the match. And they go into the next match and they're going to do the same thing, and then he will be sacked. So, for me, right now, the fate of Erik Ten Hag might be a little bit in his hands because of the selections he picks, but it's mostly in the hands of the players. His fate and his job, and him, you know, whether he's going to keep his job or he's going to get sacked is in the hands of the players. And that is when you are a manager, you never want your job to be in the hands of players, because that is the worst possible situation. When it's more out of your hands than it is in your own hands, as a manager, you are fucked, and you cannot survive in that environment. You cannot. Lyle's saying we need to see something more positive to stay positive. Losing is part of football, but the way we've been doing it is just, it's the manner we're doing it, Lyle. It's the performances. It's the individual performances, the team performances. It's what they're giving us on the pitch. It's what they're giving us. They're not giving us anything to be positive about, and it's getting worse. It's getting worse. So you can't. If you are a realist, some people aren't realist. I consider myself a realist. I mean, I try to be hopeful and I try to be positive and I try to give benefits of doubts. But after a certain point, again, I go back to the stove thing. I've been burned. I've been burned on the stove multiple times. I'm not putting my hand back on the fucking stove until they show me that the stove ain't fucking burning anymore and I can put my hand there. I'm not gonna do it again. So they got it. If they show me something, they show us something against Porto, I'll be a little bit more encouraged for the Aston Villa match. And then if they show us something against Villa after that, then I can go back to having some type of a belief. But they gotta show us something. I'm not gonna put my hope into these players until they show us something. Because they don't deserve it. They don't deserve it. Ineos to sack Ten Hag, facing 2 games to save his job, rude as interim. Are you giving me headlines for the Are you giving me headlines for the show, Amir? Are you giving me titles for the show? I might actually use that. I actually like that. Let's see. I'll update it. I'm actually gonna use that right now. I'm stealing that from you, Amir. 100%. I actually don't even know how to do it. How do I do it? How do I do it? Oh, I got it. Let me update this. We're gonna end it anyway, but I want to update it. Sorry about the angle. I can't see. No. No. Oh, I have caps lock on. Yeah, my setup is a little funky, so like you're seeing probably the top of my head or something like that. Sorry about that. I'm done. I had to update that. I actually like that title. Thanks, Amir. Appreciate it. I updated it now, so you could actually look at the title. Worst thing about yesterday is that we got humped by a Spurs team without Dele Alli. Well, the biggest thing, actually, Dele Alli. Forget Dele Alli, and I know that was. I know what you did there, Lions. I know what you did there, but something that we never even mentioned yesterday, and I was gonna mention it today at some point, but we didn't even mention it. But now that you did that, it popped back into my head. Hey, they did that to us yesterday without their captain and their best player. Heung-min Son did not play. If Heung-min Son was there instead of Timo Werner, he would have fucking scored at least 2 goals himself. So, to make matters worse, that performance, Tottenham missing their captain and their most important and probably their best player, and they still did what they did to us and beat us 3-0 at Old Trafford. So I didn't even mention that because I was so heated yesterday, and it kind of just slipped my mind. And actually, Richard put it in there and said, Son did not play yesterday, and we did. We got caught up in the moment and we forgot, And Lion saying in all seriousness, could you imagine if Son was playing? I mean, he would have scored a hat trick yesterday. It would have been so easy for him and his talent. He would have scored a hat trick by himself. So we could have, if Son played, we could have lost fucking 7-0 again. We could have lost 7-0 again. Or it could have been 8-0. You need a UPTV moderator. Those folks are big and not using caps. See what I did there? Yeah. Well, actually, that's a good title. I like that title. Let's see. Mail Sports saying, just right now, there is a growing feeling that Erik Ten Hag cannot stop the rot and a change is inevitable. So, that's coming from Mail Sport. That just came out now. Manchester United players, Mail Sport also saying Manchester United players expect Erik Ten Hag to be sacked. Some of the players were surprised he was not sacked in the summer. Well, I'm telling you right now, if that's fucking true, then you already know what's coming our way. If that's true, you already know what's coming our way. And if that's true, that explains a fucking lot. And it's going to rile me back up because, yet again, as much as Erik Ten Hag has made some bad decisions and he has, some faults, yet again, these fucking players are going to, down tools and get a fucking manager sacked. And it needs to stop. It needs to stop. If Ineos don't get a fucking handle, if they don't get a lid on this, they will never succeed and we will never succeed. So, unfortunately, as I mentioned before, we are already in a position that, and this is why I think he's fucked, because I do think that the players are not with him and they're not going to get the results. They're not going to do it. I don't think he has all of that dressing room. And I think he might have lost another 1 or 2 based on the results. Maybe the morale is down, and the others, they didn't even want him there. They didn't even want him there. They thought he was going to get sacked in the summer, and he didn't. So, again, this is why I think he's fucked, because I don't even think it's in his hands anymore. I think it's on these players, and I think these players are going to fucking, Judgment Day, and they're just going to go like this and tell him, fucking execution, you're done. Get out of here. We're done with you. We're done with you. We want a new start. Now, this might be bullshit because it's Mail Sport, so, again, we gotta wait and see. They'll show us the real... They'll show us what it really is in the games. There's a lot of speculation, a lot of shit going on, but we'll see what the facts are when we go to play the match. We will see for sure. Erik is very passionate right now. Oh, I love it. Well, you know what it is? I'm always passionate, but it's times like this where this negativity really it unrests me, and it gets me I'm upset, Lions. I'm upset. That's what it is. Like I am upset. I'm upset about the situation. I'm upset that we are here, because I really did believe that he was going to be able to turn it around. I was highly encouraged. Or I highly did believe that, what I saw the first season, there was something there. And I really did feel like the second season, there was a lot of things, like factors with the injuries and stuff like that. And I thought we had a good window. I think a lot of people thought we had a good window. Even rivals said we had a good window. And I just really thought that like he would be able to not be in this position. And we're here. And we're here. And you know, and I think he's gonna lose his job. Which I never wanted him to do. But I'm facing the facts, and I don't like this situation because, you know, while I might say that he has to go, right, because of the numbers game and stuff like that and the positions, and I get that, there's still gonna be that issue with the players, and I cannot stand these players if that is true. I cannot stand players behaving in that manner, because to me it's like, who the fuck do you think you are? Who do you think you are? You are not a superstar. Who are you? Because you play for Manchester United? You think you can act in that manner? You think you can go on the pitch and play like a piece of shit and be selfish? You don't represent us. You don't represent what the club is supposed to be about. And I don't want you here if that's what you are doing. And I want them out. If that is true in any aspect, I want them out of this club. I don't want players. You don't embody the spirit of Manchester United. You are not a Manchester United player if you are fucking doing things like that. If you don't care about the fans, if you're stabbing managers in the back, if you're doing just dirty and evil shit, you do not, there is no place for you at our club, and I don't want you here anymore. And I'm tired of it because we've been dealing with this shit for too many managers. And at one point, are they gonna kick them out? Kick them out if they're doing it, and whoever it is. And I don't care who it is. I don't care who it is. Whoever it is, find out and kick them out. Kick them out, because they are the cancer. They are the cancer. And you have to cut the fucking cancer off, because it's already spread through the thing. So, but you have to cut it off. So we need, you know, it's one of the topics that upsets me the most, Lions. It really does. I cannot stand shit like that, because I didn't grow up. I didn't grow up watching players like that. I didn't grow up. Sure, they might have had their problems. Sure, they might have not been the nicest people. But I tell you what, they never turned their back on fucking Sir Alex, and they never went on the pitch and turned their backs on us. They never turned their backs on the club. They never did that. I never watched a player do that at our club. That's not what a Manchester United player was. That's not what we represented. That's not what the club stood for when, you know, other people looked at our club and looked at our players. And so I can't stand it. I can't stand it because, you know, no, it's just the thing of you're not even good. You're not even good. You don't even have the right to try and attempt to be like this macho fucking megastar. Like they move like, you know what it gives me vibes of? Like they have like this attitude, this personality. Like they're so great. Like they're Messi or like they're Ronaldo. They can do whatever the fuck they want, and they're bigger than everybody, and they're the biggest thing there is since, you know, bread or some shit. And it's just like, that's such a disgusting personality and attitude to have. You literally don't belong at Manchester United. And you are part of the problem. So, you know, if they're doing things like that, and this is true, I'm going to be absolutely furious. You will, because I can. I thought we kind of got a lid on that. And Stephanie is here. It's good to see you, Steph. How you doing? You jumped in the middle of my rant because I'm getting upset because of the news, because apparently some players believe that Erik Ten Hag is going to get sacked and that it is inevitable, and apparently some of the players were surprised he was not sacked in the summer, and I'm absolutely just fuming. And this is coming from Chris Wheeler. And just some players were surprised that Ten Hag was not sacked in the summer. Chris Wheeler and Sammy Mokbel. I mean, it's just a fucking disgrace, man. It's just a fucking disgrace. It is. And I tell you right now, Ineos, you have one job. And while I understand you might be forced into a corner, and as much as you might want Erik Ten Hag to stay, and you might want to try to continue to back him and go down that route, you have, I don't know what you do. You know, if you know that the players are a problem, you have to, you know, I don't know. It's such a confusing thing. Whoever it is, first of all, get them the fuck out of the team and get them out of the squad. If they know who it is, you have to remove them. And Ineos can't do this thing with financials and all this bullshit. They are a detriment to this manager and the squad. So if you actually believe in Erik Ten Hag and you want to continue working with him, well, you have to help him in terms of removing these fucking cancers. And cutting them out of the club. I don't know what you do about that, because you're going to lose value. You're not going to probably be able to sell them depending on who it is. But there is no reason why you would know about that and continue to let Erik Ten Hag work with these players, because they are single-handedly stabbing him in the fucking back. So, yeah, I mean, I just can't believe that we're reading this fucking news, and it's like we've gone back 4 years, 5 years, 6 years. It's like we're in the same exact moment in time that we were. Like we've just gone through 3 or 4 years, and it's like nothing has changed. We have gotten back to the same exact spot that we were in, and I don't understand how. I don't get it. We spent 600 million with this manager. We've gotten in almost a completely new starting 11, and somehow we're still here. I don't get it. It doesn't make sense. Why does this keep happening? And why has nobody been able to fix it or figure it out? That's such a disgrace. I can't stand that. I really can't stand that. That's it. Dressing room is lost. Well, I mean, root out these poisonous players. Yeah, I mean, we have to, Steph. If we don't, we're never gonna get something done. We're never gonna succeed. They have to. Ineos has to. You know. Especially if it's true. It's just, Lion saying, I think what Ray said earlier is correct. We need to chop up the team no matter how big a player they are and just start fresh. But we have to. But it is if they are a problem, because, you know, a lot of people are saying Rashford is the problem, Bruno is the problem, and they are the two most targeted players right now. And rightfully, they may very well be. I'm not saying that they're not, right? But at the same time, I would assume that if those two players are problems, there's other players that are problems that are either less evident or ones that we, the public, don't know about. And if that's the case, this is what I'm saying. Whoever is the problem, they need to be kicked out of the club. And I hope, my only hope, and I have hope in this guy because he's new, and he hasn't, you know, gone through the process of being in situations and making the wrong decisions and letting us down numerous amount of times. So, you know, we still have to wait to see what he does. But my hope would be, if the club know about this, if Ineos know about this, Omar Barada, I would hope, and my belief is in him, that he would look at those players and say, these players need to go, and they will push to get them out of the club. And that is my only hope that I have right now. And if they don't, then I'm going to lose hope in Ineos as well, because we can't continue to have this attitude. And I don't believe Ineos will. But a part of the thing that concerns me is Sir David Brailsford and his philosophy, because Sir David Brailsford, if you never listened to it, go listen to it on YouTube. There's an interview of him where he was when he was part of the cycling team for the UK, right, in charge of that, and he gave an interview and basically explained everything he did. And one of my worries when I listened to it, because I think a lot of the things he said was brilliant, and I think they were interesting, and some of them were very groundbreaking, but one of the things I worried about when he said it, and I was like, I hope this guy is smart enough to not bring this to Manchester United, or I hope when he comes to Manchester United, he is aware of the issues in the player dynamic and therefore realizes that he cannot do this here, because if he does it here, it's going to spread the cancer. He said that one of the things that they did for the cyclists on the team was that they started giving them more freedom of what they wanted to do. So they gave them freedom on, their training or how they wanted to do certain things. And it flew in the faces of the coaches of the team. And the coaches had a shit fit because they were like, you can't just let the cyclists do whatever they want. We need to be in charge of them. And they kind of gave them like a little bit of a lesser role. And it worked for them there. But you can't do that with these fucking players, because you do that with these players are going to take advantage of it, and they're going to absolutely just player power FC. They're going to fucking stab anybody and everybody they can in the back. They're going to throw anybody they can under the bus, and it's that cancer will spread even further. It will encourage the cancer to spread. He cannot do that here. So I hope that they're not doing that. I hope that they're not doing that, because if they're doing that, it's just a huge mistake, and it will never work. It will never work. Player power needs sorting out once and for all. It needs to. Because Steph, I really do believe that if we don't, we can never be successful. We can never be, and we will never be. I don't care who Ineos buy. I don't care how great their plan is. I don't care how good the manager is. If they don't deal with that issue once and for all, and I think part of the problem is, like I said earlier, many of the people that we have in position now, Barada started actually working in June. He's seeing things firsthand. Jason Wilcox came in at some point. He's seeing things firsthand now on the inside himself, not from what other people are telling him, not from, what was known before he came in and he was told about it. He's seeing things firsthand. There's a couple of them in there that are seeing everything happen live. And my hope is that whoever the problem is, or whatever the problems are, that they address that when they can. Whenever they can. Whenever the best time possible that allows them to address it properly. I hope that they address it. Because if they don't, I don't think we'll see any success, no matter any of the other factors. Lions saying maybe just gamble on the youth graduates. Richard Hawkins saying, despite the players, Erik Ten Hag does not help himself. That's another aspect as well. He doesn't help himself, because at the same time, and he might not be aware, maybe, that might be the problem. But I mean, as the manager, you should, like we said before, if you're playing a certain system and you are picking certain players and those players are playing like shit and those players are letting you down, or they just haven't been able to do the things you're trying to get them to do. The only way you can help yourself, Erik, if you don't know if some of the players are against you or some of the players are trying to fucking throw you under the bus, is to drop them from the team. Drop them from the team. That's the only way you can do it. But he is such a stubborn man that it's almost biting him in the ass, because he's like, well, these are arguably, statistically or whatever, our best players. So he's like, I need them to come good. And he'd rather try and force it through with them than give some of the lesser, better players, analysis-wise, more time. And maybe the players that aren't doing it for him are the ones that want him out. And then at the same time, he's also alienating the other players, because then those players are like, well, that motherfucker has been shit for 27 matches and I can't get a start. So screw this guy and this manager and his philosophy. It's bullshit. So, he might have double screwed himself in that aspect, and maybe that's why the dressing room is gone. Bruno and Dalot play with Ronaldo. Rashford, Pally with Sancho could be our answers. I mean, for me, Diego Dalot, unless he is like some type of a sociopath, like very good actor. From what I get from Delo, he seems like he has a good personality and a good attitude. And while he was absolutely shit yesterday, and he was questionable in a game or two, I think Diego doesn't seem like that type of player that would do things like that. Now I don't know Diogo. I don't know Diogo personally, so I don't know what he's actually like. He could be the biggest dickhead in the world. I don't really get that vibe from him. He's not really like the social media guy anyway, per se. Commercialized and all that, and in it for himself. Then while he does play with Ronaldo, I think Delo is smart and mature enough to kind of separate that. I don't think Delo would necessarily go on an agenda for Ronaldo because he's best mates with Ronaldo. I think there was problems with that, but Delo's situation is, he's at Manchester United, he's the player, and he wants to succeed and play the best he can for the manager that's there. Whatever happened between them, that's on them. Ronaldo is done with that. Ronaldo ain't coming back, and Ronaldo's at the end of his career. Delo has a lot left in his career, so I just, for me, now I could be wrong. Maybe Delo is one of them, and maybe he's a giant prick. And maybe he fucking hates Ten Hag and he wants him out. You know what I mean? And in that case, I would say then Delo, get the fuck out. But I just don't get that vibe from him. I don't. And Rashford with Sancho is an obvious one, because I think that played a role last year, along with the off-field issues that he was dealing with. And he came back, Sancho, for a little bit, and I think that also hurt him, because what was that thing where they like apologized to each other? He was allowed to come back to training, right? And he did play in the preseason match, and it seemed like they might have worked past it, and that Sancho might be getting back into the team. But then it almost went like around for round 2, where like he wasn't involved in the squad. And then it was like, and then he just decided he wanted to go. And I think that hurt the players again, because I think what they knew or what they believed was that they worked it out and Sancho's going to come back in. And I think there was a few players there that they were happy about it. And then it was almost like, they're like, nah, this manager's done it again. Like, he's fucking dropped him from he hasn't even put him in the squad. And maybe they didn't feel like that was fair, and then they shipped him out to Chelsea, and they sided with him over Ten Hag. So Solanke is perfect. I missed a part of that. Or Ivan Toney. Surely they're better options than Xerxes. I mean, they're more experienced, they're more well-rounded, they're more developed, for sure. And I kind of question that as well, that like, we do have 2 young strikers, so it is going to be a problem. We could have used an experienced player, but we've made our choices, and now we have to deal with the cards that we have in our hand. It is what it is. You have to reap what you sow. So we didn't go for a more experienced striker. We went for a younger one. Well, we already have a younger one. And if we don't score goals and we struggle to fucking score, which means we're going to struggle to win, then we only have ourselves to blame, because we could have went and got somebody that was a little bit more experienced and developed and would have helped us out in a different aspect. So, I mean, yeah, it would have cost us a lot. So that's probably the reason why they really didn't do it. But yeah, for sure. Steph saying manager needs to be able to call out bad apples and be backed by Ineos. These aren't assets if they are letting us down on a regular basis, both on and off the pitch. Well, the problem Steph, is it's really the off the pitch shit, because yeah, it's kind of hard to think about it unless somebody that's like in the group, right? Because they could kind of just, first of all, it could all be in like a WhatsApp thing, right? So it's never spoken in public, and it only involves a certain group of players. And unless somebody exposes that to the higher ups or somebody, it's very actually hard to find that out, because how are you going to find that out unless you have access to their devices and shit like that? I don't really know how deep that goes, but you know, how, you know, if they're keeping it secret and they're keeping it private and they don't display it, you know, when they're at the training ground, or they don't display it in front of certain other players or shit like that, if it's a little bit more mischievous and secretive, it's a little bit hard to figure out, because, you know, even the manager might not necessarily know. Like, what if the players are like, you know, people that are fake, that, you know, you've experienced in life, that you think they like you because they're always friendly, they're nice, but every time you're not around, or when you're not there, or to other people, you know, they're doing shit to stab you in the back and hurt you. Like, you know, what if Erik Ten Hag doesn't know that, like, 3 or 4 of the players that he's constantly picking in the starting lineup secretly hate him and they want him gone? But, like, they just play the part. They just play the part. You know, they talk to him, they smile, they laugh, whatever. They have a good time when everybody's, like, interacting. But then when they go home, or, you know, they're in private somewhere, they're just chatting shit like, fuck this guy, I hate him. You know, it's, you know, Erik might not be able to know that. You know what I mean? They might be good actors. And part of the job is kind of acting anyway, because there's the media training. You got to be a certain way when you're on camera. You got to be a certain way with social media and PR and all that stuff. So, you know, it's not an easy thing. But if it's known about, then 100% it needs to be dealt with and cut out immediately. So, we could have gotten Solanke or Tony by Xerxes had a release clause, which was cut and dry, quick deal. Premier League players would have gone through the entire window. Then panic buying Mount was 60 million insane. Yeah, with a year left in his contract, right? And that's what I'm saying. And then, like, you know, it's even more crazy because even on the aspect of, like, Tony, right? Tony left for 40 million to go to Saudi Arabia, but they would never sell him to us for 40 million. You know what I mean? Which is just fucking ridiculous. And I actually, it irritates me because it's like, I kind of get it, but it's like at the same time, it's like, so, you know, you would sit there and hold your ground and ask for 60, and maybe we'd give you 50, but you won't take 50, but you'll sell him to Saudi Arabia for 40. Like, it's like petty bullshit to me. Like, we're giving you money, and, you know, and but you'd rather lose, you know, 10 million out of it to just get rid of him so you don't give him to Manchester United. Like, what, you know? Could we still get Berba on the free? I think Berba's busy doing his chief executive duties, or whatever he does. But probably. Steph says, keep your friends close and your enemies closer. Surely Captain Bruno should be Erik's eyes and ears. I mean, but then there's the aspect of, what if Bruno is one of them? What if Bruno is one of them? Or what if they know? Or what if they know Bruno is Erik's eyes and ears? What if Bruno is not involved? What if they ice Bruno out? You know what I mean? There's so many different options and aspects that could go into that. Like, you know, what if they know? What if it's been, you know, there's still a couple players there. What if it's, you know, a couple players that are still there? Like, and they kind of kept it on the wraps. You know, because there was reports that it was certain players, those players left the club. But if we're seeing it again, then obviously we didn't completely remove it, because there's obviously still players that were part of it that let somebody else fall on the sword, because they said it was this player and that player, and those players left the club a couple years ago. And they kind of stayed quiet for a little bit because that player was getting the 100% blame, and it was like, all right, now, you know, now we completely got rid of it. And it is, and I don't like to keep using this because it is a very serious illness and shit, but it is almost, it is like a cancer. Like, you thought you got it all, you didn't. And it slowly and quietly in the background started regrowing and spreading again. And that might have happened. That might have happened. So, but the English papers are lining Erik Ten Hag up on the chopping block. They already have their papers set for tomorrow. One is the Daily Express putting up the headline of Inzaghi in the frame. The other one is Mail Sport with the headlines: United stars expect Ten Hag to get sacked. This came out 9 minutes ago as well. Manchester United's players expect Erik Ten Hag to be sacked. Although he still has the support of the dressing room, there is a growing feeling among the players that he cannot stop the rot, and a change is inevitable. I mean, if that's not some PR bullshit from one of the players inside of the dressing room that I've ever heard. So they perfectly... It's perfectly, like, I mean, that's a fucking player leak. I mean, it is. It's coming from an agent. It's coming from somebody inside of the dressing room. Like we're here again. We're here again. Like, if you read it for what it is, that's what it is. That's what it is. They're trying to PR spin it into a positive light for themselves. Like, oh no, like the players think Ten Hag's gonna get sacked. Like, we haven't turned our back on him, but unfortunately, we just feel like, you know, he's not gonna be able to fix these things, and it's inevitable that he's gonna get sacked because of the position he's in. Like, we're so hurt, we're so sorry, like, we didn't want this, and it's a bunch of bullshit. Like, they're trying to prepare themselves, they're trying to get ahead of what's coming their way, and what's coming their way is they're going to go into the fucking Porto match, and they are going to throw that match. They are going to fucking down tools, and they're going to get this guy sacked, because they're leaking this shit. They're prepping the PR so that they don't get slaughtered for downing fucking tools. But we've been here before. They can't do this. They can't. We've been here already. We see through all your bullshit. They're leaking things again. Somebody is leaking things. We didn't have this before. This wasn't happening. Now we're getting a leak. Now we're getting a leak from inside the players and how the players are feeling. They're giving up again. I mean, we knew that. But, you know, some things never change. But they've given up again. So, that just pisses me off more. I can't stand this. I can't, man. Well, I can't. It's so disgusting. It's disgusting. Yeah, but that okay, the clickbait, yeah, but this is that thing about the players expect Ten Hag to be sacked and still has support of the dressing room. There's a growing feeling among the players that he cannot stop the rot, and a change is inevitable. That's coming from Chris Wheeler and Sammy Mokbel. Those two people are very credible. They're not. And first of all, Chris Wheeler's putting it on his name. And Chris Wheeler is very reliable and very solid. Somebody has briefed him that. A player themselves, an agent of a player, somebody, you know, a player has briefed or given that information to somebody to give to him. That's not in the Daily Star. That's not in the Express, whatever. It's not in the Daily Express. It's not in the Mail Sport. This is coming straight from Chris. Somebody has told him this straight from the players. So we're here again. I mean, I cannot believe this. I can't. This is unbelievable. So we still need that open heart surgery. Absolutely, Lion. Absolutely. I said we were only in part one of it. I think it's a 3-part thing. I think we're only in part one of it. From the summer window, I think we were only in part one. I think, going into the next summer window, it'll be part two. But some things might need to be sped up a lot more quicker. I can't even get over the fact that this is happening again. I can't, and I don't want to drag it out, but I can't because it just drives me insane. I just don't believe it that we've gotten here again with these fucking players that don't deserve to be even at our club, and they do things like this. Like, who are you? Who are you, and why are you here? Just leave. Just fuck off to somewhere else and go be a dickhead somewhere else. Leave us alone. We don't want this. We don't want this. Heart transplant. I think we need what was that old movie? $1 Million Man or whatever. Like we need to rebuild like a whole body and shit. We need like a whole thing. We need like a whole from head to toe, like reconstruction. This is very therapeutic, to be honest. Well, I'm glad you're getting it out. I'm getting it out too, but I'm gonna go mental by myself in a little bit. United need to tell these players to reveal sources, otherwise ban them. Yeah, what? How do you? But who do you ban, Steph? You know what I mean? Like, I mean, unless they figure out. I mean, you have to track it down. So Ineos, I guess they can do it. They gotta call up Chris Wheeler. They gotta call up Chris Wheeler and whoever else is gonna get this information, and you gotta fucking trace it back until you find out who was the one of the players. And then that player needs to be severely punished. Needs to be severely punished and needs to be taken out of the squad. I mean, that's the only way. Or what you do is you don't confront the player about it, right? And you keep it in you make like a dossier about them, and you just keep track of all the dirty shit that they're doing, that they think they're getting away of, right? And then when the time comes, which would most likely be, the season ending, you call them into the office, you whip out the dossier on them, right? You whip out the folder with all the proof that you have of what a piece of shit they've been. You lay it down on them, and then you tell them you're fucking out of here. Now get out of my office and go get your shit because we're sending you out of this club. So something. Sky Sports, Man United boss is backing manager Erik Ten Hag despite unacceptable loss to Tottenham. Yeah, they did say that, and I think they are right now because they haven't sacked him, right? And they're hoping that there is a turnaround in the next two matches because again, points wise, it would kind of pull us out of the worst possible situation, which we talked about before, but. I mean, listen, they can back him all he wants, but if that's true, he's fucked. I mean, if that's true on the player's part, and they expect him to get sacked and they've given up, they're backing him for no reason because they're not going to get the results, and they're going to have to sack him. Unless they take the approach of, well, the players have fucked you, so let's get them out, and you stay. But I don't see that happening. I don't see that happening at all. No, in no world. Not at this moment. The dreaded backing comment has arrived. Players, bus, manager, rinse, repeat. Backing him out. Backing him out the back door. Yeah, that's what they are. They're backing him out into the middle of the street with a blindfold on to get run over by the fucking bus that's coming his way. Telling him, no, we're on the sidewalk, Erik. We're on the sidewalk. We're safe. Don't worry about it. There's a bus coming 80 kilometers an hour straight for him, standing in the middle of the road with a blindfold on. I'm just sitting here because I just want to see if anything else comes out. I do want to end it though, but because we just got that little tidbit. I can't I can't believe this. I can't believe I'm reading this. I can't. So what? Player power has won again. Player power has won again. We're back to square one. We're back to square one. Listen, we're gonna end it because it's kind of dead. We'll come back tomorrow. We'll do another live tomorrow. We might go live a little bit earlier. I want to shoot for a 7 p.m. UK time show, or like 7:30 or something like that. So yeah, so thank you to everybody that smashed the like button. Thank you to everybody that's tuned in. Thank you to Lyle. Thank you to Steph. Thank you to Ray. Thank you to Richard. Thank you to Funny Things was in here. He had one thing to say. Thank you to Rajat. Thank you to Axe, who left us early, but thank you to Grace as well. Thank you to everybody that was in here and got involved. It was good. I got pissed at the end. Lions would call it passionate. But yeah, let's see what tomorrow brings us. We will be live. I think I'm gonna try and go live every day this week, so we'll keep up with that. And I'll do it probably, if we can, I'll do it into the international break, because I think right now the circumstances aren't good, and I think we're in an important period, and I think there's going to be a lot to talk about. So I'm going to try and do a live a day. Barring the weekend, we might take off one day. What time you live at tomorrow? Tomorrow, I actually, can you guys in the chat, like, can you just tell me like what time you guys are usually available from around? I know a couple of you, like Richard is always here. Lions, I don't know what you do. Not anything to get you. I don't know what goes on. So sometimes you're here, sometimes you're not. But Richard is usually always here. And Lyle's usually here, but you know, he was crazy busy at work, but he's come back, and Steph pops in and out as well. So I still try to figure out like what's the best times. I don't really know. But I kind of wanted to do the show a little bit earlier, so I was thinking about 7 p.m. UK time tomorrow. I don't know what time that is for all of you, depending on, you know, exactly where you live. But I was thinking 7 p.m. or 7:30 p.m. Tomorrow. You know, if it's too early, we could always do it later. I was doing the shows later. I kind of felt like maybe it was a little bit too late. So I was going to try and do them a little bit earlier and see how that worked out. You know, we're still trying out and testing new things and seeing, you know, what really is the best. So, but yeah, I plan to do it there. If you want, you could drop me a comment somewhere or anywhere, and just let me know. 7:30 is great. Yeah, so yeah, and any time for me. I'm working crazy hours, so I'm always on my PC. It has slowed down a bit since then. 7:30 is okay. All right, that this time is perfect for me. Like this time right now, Lions, like right now, or like the time that we started the show. Like this time right now, like as it is. I need to know. Answer quick. Type faster, Lions. So I know before I end it, because I'm about to end it. Your start time. Yeah, 2 hours ago. Yeah, okay. All right. Yeah, that was about an hour and a half into the... Or an hour difference. All right, yeah, so we'll see. Maybe you could join us late then, Lions, if you can't make it, but we'll figure it out. We'll switch it up a little bit here and there. I want to see... I just want to see how things go, so... yeah, tomorrow we'll try an earlier one, and then maybe we'll shift around the times a little bit going forward. So, I believe there's a delay. There might be a delay. Yeah, I put on a slight delay. So that's actually on me. It's for the latency and shit like that. 7 is cool. All right, cool. So very good. Thank you guys. It's been a good show. It was good to speak with you guys and talk to you guys, and let's see what tomorrow brings us, and we'll be getting prepped for the Porto match, and then Aston Villa. So did you say delay? Sorry, there was a delay. You guys are hilarious. There was something that I missed before. Yeah, stay safe. Be good, everybody, and we will see you. Yeah, have a good night, and hopefully these players don't screw us over. So somebody pray for Erik Ten Hag. He needs it. Oh God. Anyway, I'll catch you guys later. Be good.